We are fortunate to have several sponsors for this year's event: Jill's Table, Invorg, VersaBank, CIBC Wood Gundy, London Medical Pharmacy, and Finnan. I sincerely thank each of these sponsors for your support of this event. We have many familiar faces joining us tonight, but for those who may not know us yet, PHSS is a non-profit organization that provides unique and flexible supports and services so that persons with complex medical, physical, and/or developmental needs can live the life they choose as part of the community. Many of the folks we support have very complex needs, including those who are ventilator dependent and/or medically fragile, and who otherwise would be living in a hospital. PHSS supports more than 300 individuals in over 70 locations throughout Ontario, including our 2 new locations in Ottawa, and that brings Ottawa up to 4, so yes, we are growing. PHSS provides 24-hour residential supports, day and night respite, and overnight respite, recreational programs, specialized complex medical care, and intensive behavioral supports. We also support individuals living at home with their families. I'd like to now share a video entitled Love the World, Experience the World.
Is it casting?
Yep.
Yes.
Yes.
Snap. Pop. Now, can you hear? How's the sound?
So the buttons are on the side that we can adjust. I think the other side.
Can you hear that okay, Justin?
Yep.
Whoa! Yeah, right? Look at them go! My name is Mark Crossley. I've been an assistant coordinator here with PHSS, and I've been with the agency since 1990.
My name is Linda, and I am the project sponsor for Love the World, Experience the World with PHSS.
Oh my God. Oh yeah. Oh shoot.
Is this the good stuff?
Oh yeah.
Love the World, Experience the World is a project that we implemented in 2020, an amazing year for all of us. And this project brings the possibilities of fun, excitement, and exploration to individuals.
Oh! Whoa!
They did it! They did it!
Oh! Yeah.
One of my most favorite things to do, just in general, is to introduce people to new experiences. Whether that's sights or sounds or places I've found or food. That's what I get to do with this. I go, hey, come on, you've got to see this. Check this out. You okay?
Yeah, I was only kidding.
Oh, okay.
Oh! Oh my God, oh my God.
Oh, there's the chute.
Oh, parachute time.
To date, we have created about 15 experiences. Those experiences have ranged from swimming with the dolphins to exploring Ireland, going to Italy. And we are in the process of delivering those experiences to the individuals who have requested them. And that I'm really excited about.
Can you?
Yeah. Oh. Oh my God.
Here we go. Look at that. See, there's that suit I
This is amazing. You're free falling.
Why is this important? At this point in time, right, we're in the middle of a COVID lockdown, so it's a means by which people can get out and have a look around without actually getting out. And also, it allows people to experience things safely, right?
We're at a time where the pandemic has impacted the world, and it has impacted everyone differently. We can all say that we've had our life restricted. The individuals supported by PHSS, even more so because of their vulnerability. We absolutely have to maintain their safety through the pandemic. So connecting people together virtually is one of the goals of the project. We need that more than ever now.
It's one thing just to sit and watch something by yourself, but it's another to experience it with another person. Kind of forms the basis of relationships, right? They're based on doing stuff together. I think as this program grows, right, that people who know the people that they support better and know what they love and what they can form those bonds and join with them. And that's one of the most important things, right? Building friendships.
I really hope that individuals receive that possibility of that fun, excitement, and exploration and want to do more. And more importantly, want to share it with the people that they either live with or other individuals supported by PHSS.
It is now my pleasure to introduce a great friend of PHSS and the first Laudable Londoner, Bill Brady, as our MC for this evening. Welcome, Bill.
Seems like yesterday we did the first one, 20 years ago. Of course, Tuesday seems like yesterday too. Well, I'm happy to be here. The reason I came is because they couldn't get anybody else, and I've been doing it 20 years now, and they keep hoping I'll get it right one of these years. When I came into the club tonight, one of the staff said, "You've been doing this a long time," and I said, "I've been doing everything a long time." And you probably missed it, but on May 1st, when in Shanghai they were having a parade with missile launchers and drums and marching bands and so forth, I was having my birthday. And I thought that parade was maybe for me, but it wasn't. It was May Day, and you're probably saying, well, how old is this individual? He's been here forever. On May 1st, I turned 90. Now, that's something I hadn't planned. And the specter of being 100 looms. It's looming, and I keep thinking about, here's the Queen, and she's not doing that well herself, and you're supposed to get a letter from the Queen. So I've written Buckingham Palace and said, let's do it now, just in I'm not prepared to wait 10 years. Anyway, we had a party planned. This isn't germane, but when I've got the mic, what are you going to do, right? We had my family had a big party planned, lots of people. It doesn't resonate with any of you because none of you were invited, but we had to cancel because there were so many new COVID cases being reported that it seemed prudent not to put 45 people in a small Portuguese restaurant where we got a deal on the chicken, by the way. And so we had to cancel, and that meant we had to cancel the entertainment too. And I'll tell you something you should know. The Mormon Tabernacle Choir is not happy when you cancel. And they had to cancel the U-Haul for the trip and so forth. Anyway, I'm here tonight to say that I'm honored once again to participate this time in the 22nd edition of Laudable Londoners. Over those years, the Foundation and Participation House Support Services has honored some very interesting and remarkable Londoners, people who've made contributions to our city and to its charities. The other reason I'm happy to be here is to meet the honoree. I've been a big fan, and I didn't know. I thought, will she be nice? I mean, will she say, I know who you are? She didn't say that, but I think she will remember me because we're going out after for drinks. Actually, I have something in common. We're both writers. Some of you don't know that I have several books out. Well, actually 3, if you count the last one, which is about that thick, and it's poetry I wrote when I was in the studio, where I did the morning show at CFPL, and I just scribbled this doggerel. It's terrible poetry. One of my favorite lines was borrowed from somebody else. I will arise and go now and go to Clowndeboy. But that didn't move people as much as the one about Whiz Beach, which is a real village on Highway 22. That book, by the way, was reviewed by the London Free Press, and the reviewer said, this is a thin book, the thinner the better. And I understand writer's block. I do. It's between Clarence and Wellington on the south side. By the way, the name of the little book I mentioned, I thought it was quite clever, because I did early morning and I got up early to do the morning show by 5 o'clock, so I called it Going from Bed to Verse. I didn't think that was too bad. I'm happy to be here for many reasons. Participation House has created a miracle in our community, removed the stigma and the distress that families feel when they're faced with and confronted by the difficulty of having a child or a relative who requires special treatment, special care. And it gives dignity back to people who have been marginalized in the past. And I think that's quite remarkable. The other reason I'm happy to be here is to present my book to the honoree. People said, you have the temerity to give your book to Emma Donoghue? And I said, yes. When you're old, you can do crazy stuff. You can say almost anything. The only problem with turning 90 is people open doors for you when you don't want to go in there, but feel you should if they're kind enough to open it. And yesterday at the supermarket, I had a lovely experience with the buggy. We had it flat, and it was making that noise as I went by the $7 oranges. Have you shopped lately? I had to miss a car payment. I was asked by someone, what would you do if you won $1 million in the lottery? I said, the first thing I would do would be fill my car with gas, and if there was any left over, I'd buy groceries. Because I'm here also because my book is called, it's modest title, it's called It's All About Me. And Chapters, this is true, Chapters got in touch with the guy who published it and said, would Brady come and do a signing? This is next week. And I'm really reluctant. I keep thinking, what if nobody comes? And I don't do rejection really well. So I might pass unless we can get you all to agree to show. You don't have to buy a book. Just show up and ask me to sign one, and we can use the same book over and over again. The other thing is to tell Dr. Donoghue that I read The Wonder. So when the hors d'oeuvres were passed tonight, I abstained. I kept thinking about Anna O'Donnell and how she went so long without, if you haven't read it, you must read this remarkable book, The Wonder. And I'm hungry, but I couldn't bring myself to eat. I won't last as long as she did, but I. Anyway, when I read the work of our honoree, not only is it the kind of prose that gets into your head and stays there, and I see pictures, and I'm in love with the writing and her style and her passion. And so this is what I wrote in the front of her book, but I'll ask her not to show you because then you won't buy one. For Emma Donoghue, about whom my Irish dad would say, she has the gift. Emma Donoghue not only cares about the spoken word and libraries and young people and the disadvantaged, she puts her care into something very pragmatic and generous. Often the fees she receives, the prize money, gets diverted from her to worthwhile organizations. She's contributed significantly. Her philanthropy is well known among the writers' circles, and now I want you to know about it too. These examples include her Giller runner-up prize money going to the Canadian Feed the Children's food security programming in Indigenous communities. She's very generously donated the royalties of her children's series, The Lotteries, to Room to Read, an organization that supports literacy and girls' education in Asia and Africa. She also donated her prize winnings from the Ireland funds to the UN Refugee Agency. So it's a great honor to be here to do this, and I know that Emma Donoghue will treasure this book and put it on the shelf next to War and Peace, and perhaps the Dewey version of the Bible. I'll leave it here for you to ponder. It requires very little pondering, and the photographs were all taken many, many years ago, which is the way to put your picture in a book. So welcome to what is an opportunity to honor someone very, very special. So I'd like to now call upon the Member of Parliament for London North Centre, Peter Fragatatos. If you'll come up, Peter, and speak on behalf of the Government of Canada.
Well, it should go without saying, Bill. It's a hard act to follow, so I will not even try. But it's wonderful to see you, and wonderful to see all of you tonight after some time away. It's a lot of familiar faces and new faces in attendance, and just really nice to be together again. Thank you for the invitation. Thank you for the support that you've shown this remarkable organization over the years, and for holding an event that stands out. There's not many events like this in London, and I think it's important that we come together whenever we can to honor people such as Emma Donoghue, who have made such a contribution to not only our city, but also, say, our country as well. I think that this is something that really needs to be at the forefront of our minds in terms of how we honor just outstanding people in our community, and this event certainly does that. I think as far as how we approach an event like this, an evening like this, certainly there's the success that Ms. Donoghue has achieved, but we look at success as a concept. We can look at the contributions of an individual and also their example. I think even more than the contributions, the example matters. I don't know Ms. Donoghue personally, but I do know a bit about her story and certainly her writings. This is someone who came here as an immigrant and has led the way as far as the written word. I mean, this is someone who, from the age of 23, as far as I know, found a way to turn her passion, turn her craft into a profession. And we've seen the result. The result is nothing short of remarkable. Just a few weeks ago, my wife and I attended the Grand Theatre and saw Room, and it was just a wonderful performance. And I mean, we know what we all think of the book, and I know there's been many other works, Emma, that you've put forward. I think in this day and age, in this world that we live, writers have a special place. They will, of course, take their craft and write and remind us of the challenges that we face as individuals, to tap into the human condition as Emma has done through her writings. And through that, I think we become stronger human beings, maybe even stronger communities are the result. This is someone who has pursued a passion, and we see the outcome. I talked about an example, though. I think that we also live in a world where all too often, and this is especially the case after 2008, I remember teaching at the university here in London before going into politics, there was a huge emphasis on getting students into business, and that is one way to pursue success. I know many of you had found success in that realm. But success is not only found by enrolling at the Richard Ivey School of Business, for example. It is found especially when young people are given an example, or allowed rather, to pursue something that they truly care about and to turn that into something that into a job, into a profession, into something that they can earn a living from and find their creative pursuit realized. And that's something that Ms. Donoghue has done, and that example holds true, and it's something that young people in our community can look to. So for all those reasons, I'm just thrilled to be here, and just wanted to thank you again for the invitation and for the work that the organization does. Certainly it's not lost on me, nor is it lost on the Government of Canada. Thank you very much.
Now representing the City of London, I'm going to call upon Councillor Maureen Cassidy. Ms. Cassidy?
Well, I'm glad Peter followed Bill and not me. Good evening, everyone. I'm so happy to be here with all of you. Thank you so much for the kind invitation. It's my absolute pleasure to welcome you on behalf of the City of London and on behalf of Mayor Ed Holder. More than 20 years ago, Participation House, now PHSS, began celebrating individuals for the contributions they have made to our community and the impact they have had on our community. All of the past award recipients were celebrated for having made a difference in the lives of their fellow Londoners. For a few, like tonight's honoree, Ms. Emma Donoghue, the reach has been global, profound, and life-changing. The arts, and storytelling in particular, have the ability on their own to touch people deeply and to have a lasting effect on our points of view and on our perspectives. Ms. Donoghue, however, has taken that many steps further, leveraging her success, paying it forward, and changing the world. And as important as it is to celebrate laudable Londoners like Emma Donoghue, tonight is also our opportunity to shine a super bright spotlight on the incredible work that PHSS does every single day in London and in other communities too. Through this celebration every year, PHSS demonstrates for us the spirit of community. They show us that our greatest challenges can only be conquered when we come together as a community. PHSS's, that's hard to say, their spirit is spelled out in their mission statement: supporting individuals with developmental, medical, and/or complex physical needs to live in their own homes and participate in the community with family and friends. For me, the key word there is participation. It means being included. It means belonging. Participation, belonging, inclusion. The ability for every single one of us to reach our full potential, regardless of obstacles and abilities. Back in 2015, I began work with 7 other Londoners on an endeavor to examine the reality of poverty in our community. At that time, we saw that London is a model Canadian city in many ways, including affluence, economic strength, and quality of life. But the paradox was that quality of life wasn't reaching all people, and it still isn't. Our final report contained over 100 recommendations to the community, recommendations that can help all people to reach their full potential. Because if we're content to leave behind the most vulnerable members of our community, what does that say about us? Through their deep commitment, their ongoing work, and their effective advocacy, PHSS exists to make sure that nobody will get left behind. To all of you at PHSS, Thank you for all you do, not only for the individuals that you serve, but also for our entire community. And to tonight's sponsors and to everyone here tonight, thank you for joining us in this salute to Emma Donoghue, and thank you for your ongoing support for the inspirational work that PHSS does in our community. Thanks, everyone.
As you know, we have a municipal election coming up. Not that that has anything to do with this, but I will vote for whoever spearheads the effort to put a left turn signal at the northwest corner of Oxford and Hyde Park Road. You want to make a note on that? I just know from your comments, and I know that the city must recognize that this organization does for its citizens what it does. There's not many communities that can proudly say that this element within our community is being cared for at such a high level, so professionally. And the growth pattern of PHSS indicates that it is the type of care and the answer to the problems that exist in communities all across our country. I'd now like to call upon Dorothy Downs. Dorothy is the spirit behind the Forest City Film Festival, and was told tonight that she and Dr. Donoghue are doing a film, and I really have to, I'm not available, I'm just too busy. But thanks for thinking of me. Dorothy, where are you? Come up and talk.
Thank you so much, Bill. You sure we can't talk you into that? Come on. It's not that much work doing a film. It's no work at all. No, really, it's an incredible honor to be up here, to be invited to say a few words about the wonderful Emma. So thank you for having me. I first met Emma in the first year of our film festival, the Forest City Film Festival. It was 2016, and this was the year of Emma's first screenplay. That it had been nominated for an Oscar. So it had been an incredibly busy year for Emma. Yet she still found time to help this small fledgling festival in her own city. To give you an idea of how busy that year was for her, the film that she had written, based on the book that she had written, had garnered 140 nominations and won 107 times, this film, including an Oscar for Best Actress, the AFI Movie of the Year, and almost every Canadian Screen Award that is possible to be won was won by the Film Room. Personally, Emma was nominated 41 times for Best Adapted Screenplay, and she won 9 very prestigious international awards. There were countless interviews, travel to events. I can't even imagine the number of requests that Emma had for her time, requests just like mine. I was not expecting somebody who was experiencing this kind of level of busy to actually work with this little unknown film festival in its first year. But she listened with an open mind, and to my delight, she said yes. She came out to our inaugural opening night and joined me on stage for our first ever Q&A. And she absolutely delighted the audience with her wit and her stories of experiencing the film world at that incredible level that honestly so few people ever get to experience. Having Emma a part of this gave other people confidence. So audiences came out for that first year, and funders showed up for us in a way that probably wouldn't have happened at first, and it certainly allowed us to grow significantly from that little kitchen table organization into the quite robust and impactful festival that it is today. What I learned about Emma during that time is that since then, during that time and since then, is that she is a very generous and giving person who wholeheartedly supports the artistic journey. She cares deeply about her community and understands how impactful it is to look at somebody who has been successful and realize that they are from your place. They're part of you. She is fast learning, hardworking, and open to new experiences with creativity. She has conviction in her own talents, the conviction that allowed her to turn her incredible novel Room into an even more incredible screenplay. I don't know about even more incredible, because honestly, the book is beautiful. As well as now, we all know, a play. So for those of you in this room who aren't aware, writing a screenplay and writing a novel are incredibly different skill sets. And each one are really huge achievements. So there's not many novelists who actually would take on writing a screenplay, but Emma did. And this was the first screenplay that Emma had ever written, Room. She apparently studied over 25 books, took them all out of the library, studied them like crazy to be able to accomplish this. She wrote version after version to create the masterpiece that she's been rightfully lauded for. So clearly Emma is very excited about the film world. She has been generous in her support of London's Forest City Film Festival with her time and energy on several occasions now. And she supported the fabulous Imaginative Film Festival, the world's largest Indigenous film festival in Toronto. She attends festivals to alongside, wonderful audiences to have those incredible experiences. And she recently has had her second screenplay turned into a film with an absolute amazing pedigree and cast and crew. It's got Oscar-winning director Sebastian Lelio. It's got Power of the Dog. That was the Academy Award-winning film this year. The cinematographer Ari Wegner, and it stars Marvel film star Florence Pugh. So it'll be coming out likely this fall, and all my fingers and toes are crossed that the Forest City Film Festival will have a chance to screen it. So with two major screenplays under her belt, a wonderful play that we're all aware of, Room, alongside her incredible list of novels, Emma is a shining example of a laudable Londoner, and very deserving of this honor. Proud to have you in our community and in our midst, and congratulations, Emma.
Thank you, Dorothy. Now I'd like to call upon a colleague from UWO, Anne Sherman. Anne?
Thank you, and good evening, everyone. One question that Emma Donoghue has been asked often in recent interviews concerns the importance of fidelity in literary adaptation. Sometimes this is a question about how difficult was it to remain faithful to the novel Room when she adapted it for screen and then stage, or to her novel The Wonder, now also a film. Other times it was a question about how difficult it was to remain faithful to the novels of other writers in transforming their texts into screenplays. These questions express a long-standing critical anxiety about genre and identity. How many changes can one make to a story? How many words can be cut? How many scenes added before it ceases to be itself? Emma's answers to these questions have been characteristically free of anxiety and clear-sighted. It is precisely those changes of form, Emma has said, dialogue turned into images, for instance, or descriptive prose into song, that preserve the story as it moves from one genre to another. Rigid literalism ruins a story. Fidelity is found in its transformation. Emma's fidelity is thoughtful, inventive, and transformative in all aspects of her writing. As a literary historian and a writer of historical fiction, Emma's faithfulness to the historical record, as well as to the truths excluded or silenced by that record, is manifest in meticulous research that miraculously appears effortless when it informs the spaces and textures of her fiction. Whether the substance of the story involves fashion, prostitution, and murder in 18th century Monmouth, artists, actors, and politicians in 18th century London, a 19th century English feminist, a smallpox epidemic in 19th century San Francisco, a maternity ward during the 1918 flu pandemic, the settings, plots, characters, and above all, the relationships in Emma's novels are richly, deeply true to history, and yet vividly alive, remarkably present without being anachronistic. Indeed, I think Emma's fidelity as a writer exemplifies the various and historical meanings of the word itself. For fidelity is a word that captures not only the quality of truthfulness, but a certain relationship to the truth, not only veracity and honesty, but authenticity. Emma's fidelity is, as I have said, the adaptive kind, which is not hung up on inflexible adherence, the kind that welcomes transformation and that transforms in turn. This is true not only in her writing, but also in her friendships, which she graces with the same energetic diligence and light touch that she brings to her books. True friendship, like great writing, does take work, but Emma always makes it feel easy and natural. The beneficiaries of Emma's faithful friendship, I among them, will attest that no matter what transformations or upheavals befall them, marriage, divorce, pregnancy, childbirth, illness, tragic loss, and no matter how cosmic her own level of success, Emma's love, her attention, her warmth and good-humored wisdom, her unparalleled conversational skills, and her thoughtfulness remain constant. The combination of openness and faithfulness that makes Emma a great writer and the best of friends is both exceedingly rare and well-suited to the philanthropy that we are here tonight to recognize. For this reason, I am not at all surprised that Emma is receiving this honor, but I am thrilled indeed to be here to help celebrate her many laudable contributions. Thank you very much.
And it is with great pleasure that I introduce an individual who is an important part of the experience for students at the University of Western Ontario. She's our honorees partner. Would you welcome Dr. Chris Rolston, please?
Thanks very much, Bill. It's a real honor to be invited to speak for this wonderful event and this amazing charity. But it's also a little weird to be introducing my wife of 28 years, so I'll do my best. When you know someone for that long, it's the unofficial rather than the official stories that come to mind. We met at Cambridge University in 1994. Emma was finishing her PhD, which, by the way, she really didn't want to finish. I made her do that. And I was on a postdoctoral fellowship. But we both knew that I would be returning to Canada to a job at the University of Western Ontario. So, what were we going to do? Thankfully, Emma had no intention of becoming an academic. And so we commuted for 3 years, and then the big decision to emigrate to Canada was made. And I feel I'm not the only one to have benefited from that. London has been good to both of us. We've made amazing friends and have a real sense of community here. Although Emma will always maintain her deep connections across the Atlantic, in Ireland and England, we have both been happy to call London our home. It's here that Emma's career as a writer developed, and it's also here that we had our 2 wonderful children, Finn and Tuna. Now, it's also been fun for me to be the +1 in Emma's public life. I won't deny to going to a whole bunch of award ceremonies for a film that she scripted wasn't a huge thrill. At the Golden Globes, we got to see Lady Gaga trip by our table in her very high heels. We also realized that Brad Pitt is very short. But really, the best moment was at the Oscars. We were just seated, waiting for the ceremony to begin, and I look up, and I see Cate Blanchett gently stroking Emma's shoulder. And she wanted to congratulate Emma for having won the award the previous day, the Independent Spirit Awards. It's the only time I've ever seen Emma speechless. And I'm not entirely sure she has washed that part of her body since. So, because people encounter Emma in a public setting, it's easy to forget that much of her life is spent alone in her office at her computer. Emma fills her time imagining other worlds. But her writing is always a meditation on the world we live in now. The protagonists in her novels are the ones forgotten by history. Whether it is the working-class woman giving birth during the 1917 pandemic, the Irish lesbian grieving for a dead lover she cannot mention, the starving girl being used as a pawn by a patriarchal religion, or a forgotten mother and son locked in a room. But within these somber themes, there is always wit, humor, and incredible resilience. Emma's stories speak to what is possible against all the odds. I think that Emma's writing reflects who she is as a person. She cares about the world. And she's one of the most engaging and generous people I know. I know she's my partner, but still. Whether it's with her devoted friendships, her amazing parenting skills, or her attention to local and global issues that require whatever support she is able to give. When Emma wrote her runaway bestseller, Room, it didn't change her understanding of what was most important. Above all, she saw it as an opportunity to do a little more and to help a little more. And this is why I know she is deeply touched to be honored as a Laudable Londoner today. Thank you.
And now, once again, I'm going to call upon the President of Participation House Support Services, Marion Strong. Marion?
I've been promoted.
Are you not the president?
No, I'm not.
What are you?
I'm just a board member, Bill. But
Do you want to be president?
Yeah, sure, why not?
Well, let's make that happen.
All right.
Just a minute. I'll do it. That's better.
Thank you, Bill. And now we have another brief video to share with you.
Somebody who you consider having a complex medical need, they need support. It's not just the ventilator or the technology, it is the tracheostomy, the opening in their windpipe, their airway. There's a lot of things to learn. They're not complex, but you put them together and you refer to them as having complex needs because they have multiple needs. We look at the individual and what they need and how do we develop that and create capacity to deliver that. But it benefits not just the individual and the family, it benefits the hospital, the system, and the community.
You can think of a few people who have come out of ICU, and some of them have been very young. What is their capacity to be part of the community? And in the hospital, they're not. They're not living their lives, they're just stuck in that place, right? To watch people come out and just grow and do things that people thought they could never do.
I love hanging out with my friends.
Like, our families are our best sources of information, and they will train us on what does their child really enjoy, what types of interests does your child have, what types of talents do they have, where would you like to see them grow, and then we can grow our own relationships with the participants as well and learn more about them by working with them every day.
There are so many fun activities like art and karaoke and games.
So this art class is to create an atmosphere of fun and collaboration between artist, volunteer, community member, so that our art can be part of who we are. It can express how we think, how we move, how we are in the world. So we change our techniques, we change the way we do things to facilitate that person's expression, and especially an expression that is natural to them.
It's really awesome to be able to come to work in a very positive environment and being able to learn constantly.
So when I first walked into a PHSS supported home, I pretty much knew within 15 minutes that it was something that I wanted to do for the rest of my life. The amount of support that you can give to people, the way that you can support them, the relationships you can build with people, and I felt that right away the first day that I walked into a PH house.
So the support that we receive from Participation House is phenomenal. Our quality of life has changed tremendously. It's much, much better than it was. So now I feel like I have a life again. It's been a long time. Yeah.
The staff are very highly trained, and they're very competent, they're very compassionate and caring. They do everything in their power to not only meet the individual needs of each participant, but to also find them opportunities that match their abilities and that resonate with their personalities to give them the best quality of life that they can, while they're also receiving the care that they need. Nikki is thriving like I have never seen her thrive before. And that means a lot to me as a parent, that I know that she has a place that she can come to that is giving her everything that can enrich her life and open up her world.
It makes me feel so happy and I laugh a lot here.
And now I would like to introduce Sandra Regallo, who's going to assist me in presenting Emma and Inishuk. An Inishuk is a structure of rough stones traditionally used by Inuit people to communicate with travelers along their journey. They are a beacon to those looking for the right direction and safe passage. They are helpful symbols that demonstrate collaboration between communities. Excuse me. We celebrate Laudable Londoners to acknowledge the feeling of community which such persons exemplify. They represent the Foundation's dream for the future, that more Londoners will understand that acceptance of all its citizens is essential in making this a true community. We present our honorees with an Inishuk, the symbol that we feel best represents what community work is all about. Symbolized by the rippling effect of a pebble in the water, a person's contributions benefit many more people than they first imagined. Congratulations, Emma.
Well, I'm having a very nice Wednesday. This is beautiful, by the way. Who needs an Oscar? Honestly, much more distinctive and Canadian. I'm having a very unusual Wednesday because my typical Wednesday would not involve being lauded at all. In fact, I had to explain to the teenagers at home what lauding as a verb was, what a laudable Londoner was, and now I think they would use both noun and adjective to mock me for the rest of my days. And also, I'm used to spending much of my time in a very cozy pair of Eddie Bauer jeans with flannel insides that I've been wearing for, I'd say, the last 2 years. So again, being out of the house in clean clothes, you know, with lovely hors d'oeuvre going by, and then speeches on top of it. It's been like my own funeral, but I get to have the snacks. So the day also started delightfully because we got to go and vote early with our 18-year-old. And parenthood, you know, they always say that the days are long, but the years go fast. And suddenly feeling that we've got to the first 18 years and have produced a voter, you know, it's a thrilling sensation. Even if our 18-year-old voter did bait us by constantly pretending he was going to vote for parties that he knew we would not like him to vote for. But of course, we kept saying, you could vote for whoever you like, that's democracy. So this is the same 18-year-old who, as a 4-year-old, inspired Room, because children, it turns out, grow up much faster than books do. You can have a child out of the house and you're still adapting the book into various art forms. So it's funny how a story can linger if you're lucky enough to have opportunities to rework it with lots of different collaborators, such as the incomparable Grand Theatre. The same son went to the doctor the other day, and I promise I'm not going to give away any medical confidential information, but it's a representative story, because he went to the doctor with numb toes, and the doctor said to him, have you changed anything about your life recently? And he explained that he'd got a job as a hotel porter. And she said, could it be that you're just not used to standing up for 8 hours? And indeed, it was a complete change of life from the semi-prone position of the permanent video gamer to standing upright and wearing dress shoes. But similarly, I may not be on my feet all day for 8 hours, but this is the first time I've had even low heels on in 2 years. So I again feel numb in the toe and unqualified for this glamorous gala life, because it's been a long few years, hasn't it? The book that has been kindly stocked tonight, The Pull of the Stars, my last novel, I think some people thought that I'd written it with astonishing speed when I produced it in the first summer of COVID, because it's all about a world pandemic. It's set in Ireland in a hospital during the 1918 flu pandemic. But of course, books are, as I was saying, a slow business. They don't grow as fast as children. And I'd written that book well before COVID. It just happened to get published in the year 2020. And I've actually written about epidemic disease several times, because this is going to sound very cold-blooded, but to a writer, human suffering is gold. You know, it's a fact that, you know, obstacles, problems, and mass panic, fear, and misery. It's useful stuff for creating narrative. So I've several times written about major diseases. But more seriously, I would say a pandemic drew me as a topic because writers are always looking to create a feeling of, you know, the pattern in the carpet, that life is not a meaningful, tragic mess, but that there are structures, there are stories that pull the whole thing together, that it means something. Just as a friend can write a speech about you that moves you to tears because it makes you sound like a complete pattern rather than just someone in her flannel trousers trying to get through the day. So a pandemic, I would say, is an irresistible topic for a novelist because it literally makes visible the connections between people. People affect each other's lives in these stories because they catch illness from each other, but also they save each other's lives, especially if you're writing a book set in a hospital. So I would say a pandemic is an astonishing moment when all those tiny little connections between people over the course of a day become life and death stuff, for both good and bad reasons of contagion and support and healing. And I wouldn't be the only one in this room who has felt that over the last few years, that we can suddenly see those connections between us at the community level and at the level of when you're Zooming a loved one half a world away. And hello out there, Zoomers. Lovely to have you as the important quarter of our group tonight. We see you. So yes, a pandemic story in a way draws attention to all those little fleeting connections between people over the course of the day. And I know as a member of this community, I've been made aware by COVID of how much we need each other. Even at the level, say, of, you know, when all the businesses were having to shut down temporarily, I remember thinking, okay, I need to make sure that the ones that survive this pandemic include my favorite bakeries. So I decided that my personal task as a consumer would be to order so regularly from the Black Walnut and from La Noisette that they would stay in business just from me. So it's been a few years full of baked goods, and I'm happy that both those businesses continue to thrive. But more seriously, I've also been aware how much we need not just our hospitals, but all the smaller groups and agencies who provide incomparable help, such as PHSS. And it's funny, I always used to think of philanthropy. There's another word I had to teach the kids this week. It has never come up. I've always thought of that as a sort of more international business, but during COVID, I became much more aware of the need for us to pull together and tackle things like, say, homelessness in our community. Just a lot of that sort of local politics suddenly became much more visible to me because of the pandemic. I'm sure a lot of you were more aware of these things going into it, but maybe it took the pandemic to really make me see in my everyday life the grand dramas that I usually are focused on in my fictional worlds. So it's been a life-changing few years for many of us, and I couldn't be happier to be here getting lauded in a way I've never been before, and don't expect to happen on many Wednesdays in my life, but this is an amazing one. And I would like to thank all of you who do far more substantial stuff that needs lauding, and who in particular over the last few years have given of your time and energy as well as money to all the many causes that need it. And thank you so, so much to all of you for being here, and I will treasure this. Thank you.
It's been a very special night for Participation House and for all of us, getting to spend time with such a prominent and gifted individual. We'd like you to, those of you who have spoken tonight, to gather so they can take the ubiquitous photographs, which will never see the light of day after tonight. But be cheerful and smile. So we're going to have a bunch of pictures taken, and then the author is going to sign some books. I only brought one of mine, and it's already signed. I'm sorry. But about the screenplay, we can talk later. But thank you for being here. This is an expression of your support for one of the most important organizations in Canada that reaches out to help so many who are unable to function, and yet we are able to give them through PHSS a sense of dignity and importance and give them a life in the real world. So thank you for being here, and thank you, and good night.